I'm aware of, Wendy, is I'm laughing at last week's video because I'm like a giant orange that's got so much juice wanting to be squeezed, which I've been like for years. That I've got the next thing and I'm feeling it. I want to express it. I'm going, yeah, absolutely, yeah. I love it. Going laughing.
Let me just hit. Right, that's it. We're on, Carl. That's it.
We're on. Brilliant.
So guys, welcome to Magical Monday with Cosmic Carl and the wonderful Wendy, as we've now termed ourselves. And as you're probably starting to become aware that when me and Carl get into conversation, it's the weird and the wonderful that people don't normally talk about, which comes up. And, you know, the reason why we want to share some light-hearted stuff with you guys really is there's so much heavy energy at the moment. And Carl and I both come from backgrounds where we've been through an awful lot. And that's many different situations and that where we've had to become resilient and we've had to get over mental health problems and lots of other things that we won't go into today. But maybe we can share a video on that, Carl. We'll do one later on about that.
Absolutely.
And we just want you guys to know, you know, we have a lot of compassion and empathy for everybody at the moment on this planet who's going through shit. You know, we understand, and we just want to add something in and, you know, lighten the load a little bit for you guys out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with compassion and what we're going to talk about today and what I want to express, Wendy, is coming from the heart, is realizing that the journey from the head back to the heart, the challenge of the mind, like I say through my experience of activating and connecting with something greater when I was around the age of 18, is just realizing how much power we have within us and that we can get through this. Humanity is not just going to get through this. There's a big shift occurring. And if you really feel that and you really come from the heart, that's what's going to get you through the process. So like I say, feed the fear, don't feed the fear, feel the love. And that's what we bring. We bring a lot of love and compassion, and we've been there. We've come through. We've gone through the process. We've come out the other side. So, you know,
and it is the love and compassion is right. And from my personal experience today, Carl, I mean, we were talking before we got on air. Yeah. I've been feeling a bit off kilter. So what I've done today is I've spent a lot of time sitting in my heart space. I've done 3 different meditations today, all based around just activating my heart space so my body can feel better. Because I know when I create heart-brain coherence, I change the chemistry in my body, you know, and then that will fight any infection or disease that's trying to come in. When my mind is in the wrong space, it's in a right old state, not the right state, connect back into the heart again, and it brings back the balance. You know, you can use this when you learn to use it. You really can create a lot of change in your life, not just for yourself, but other people as well, because the resonance of our heart, the magnetic field that we generate impacts other people as well. So you can actually send, you know, I have an old trainer of mine who used to say, just send a love bomb to people. And he'd generate a ball of love in his heart. He'd send it across the planet, you know. And we don't know how far energy can impact. And the only reason we don't know is because they cannot measure it. So if you've got an intention,
put it out.
And you send it, you can send it anywhere. So we're sending you out some love bombs today, guys. And we're going to wander into some realms today, Carl, as well, aren't we, Rich?
And talking about the heart, Wendy, it's the power plug socket to the universe.
Yeah.
And we've been in a program for a long time, which we've spoke about in the last, you know, two podcasts. And that the more we come from our heart, the more we unravel and untangle the bobangle of the mind and the overthinking reactive mind loop, the more we start to feel truth.
Yes.
And when we feel truth, we feel like we're on the right track. And this is where I feel a lot of people need to understand that you've got to trust the process that we're in. And if you can just surrender, let go, if you need to hold your heart, if you just need to really sit with it, just be in your body, be in your heart, because this is the plug socket. And like I write about, the journey from the head to the heart is where we're going. And reaction is, for me, when we learn about our human biology and the old caveman software, is that when we realize through our biology, our human technology and human biology is one. So when we move from the reaction of how the nervous system, how the amygdala, the freeze, flight, fight, how the endocrine system gets flooded with adrenaline and when we're not moving the body. And now we're in the wrong part of the nervous system. When we start to realize our true power, coming back to the heart, the amygdala, prefrontal cortex, and then realizing when we're in our bodies, when we're in our heart, we move into response. We learn to respond to circumstances. We don't collect a lot of the stress. What we do is we're in a process. We're bright responders. We're processors, high energy processors. And that's when we switch on and tune in to the cosmic universe.
And it gives you can get direct answers as well. So I use that a lot. That's one thing I do connect into. I'm still learning, but the more you connect into this space, the more you can get a true answer for whatever question it is you're asking. This thing will never lie to you when you tune into it. It really won't. And you like you say, it's either sensing the environment of what is actually really happening, or I use it for work, I use it for things I want to do. I use it for manifesting. I use it for relaxation. I actually tune into people with this as well.
Absolutely.
People who are distant, people that I don't see very often. Like I have friends in Australia, if I want to connect, I just get their face in my head, feel them in my heart, and just send them some love. And the funny thing is, they always connect with me.
Well, that's like telepathic. Yeah, that's the telepathic is I've through the airwaves when you're in your heart and you put a message out into the airwaves, people feel it, and I have that connection with my aunt Easy D. She'll call me up and I go, hey, we know there's a connection, but that is really living from a higher state of being, and that journey comes from our internal world of what I'm trying to create, Wendy, is a perception, like we say, changing perspective, shifting perception, is that the reactivity in the world, the low frequency and vibration that a large 70% of people are not realizing in the matrix that they're plugged into something that's keeping them in a low state. That's what's shifting at the moment. That is what's shifting. And you've got to be able to sit in your heart to feel that process. It's the human instinct, and it's now intuition. Being able to listen has been I would say, greatest process to be able to be in the heart space, do the healing, go through the trauma, feel the experiences, and just know that I've been guided through my internal guidance system and my intuition and switching on and tuning in, that you surrender and you let go. And this is the greatest challenge that we're in at the moment is people, if you're plugging into the television or you're plugging into certain frequencies and vibes of what's going on around you, the greatest challenge now is to really come in, sit. Noise is the new entertainment. Noise has taken over the nervous system.
Yeah. How many people how many people actually watching this at the moment? So while we're talking about this, and Carl is saying that noise is the new entertainment, how many people can actually sit and put their phone somewhere else? How many people can actually sit in the evening and turn the TV off and read a book? How many of you actually do that, or are you constantly surrounded by noise? Because if you are, you're not ever tuning in to your human system. And we've been developed through teaching school, everything around us, all media sources, all these things, everything has been designed to keep our attention focused on something and never allow us to stop and connect on the inside. And it's from, like you say, it's from the inside that we then get to create on the outside what we want more of. But if you're constantly being bombarded and you never give this a time to settle down and sit and reflect, internally or externally, then you'll find you're on that constant
matrix.
In the matrix,
And that's the matrix. And the matrix is five sensory. And five sensory is basically, when you look at, it's interesting. I was having this conversation about artificial intelligence and the new UQS, Universal Quantum System. And you look at artificial, it says what it does on the tin. It's artificial.
Yeah.
It's That's what it is. It's basically man-made, like all of the low technology that we use, this technology which we can bypass,
Yeah.
that this artificial world that we live in, quantum is just far superior. The intelligent field, the unified field that we're all connected to is quantum. We're in a quantum leap. And that's what we got to trust as a process that's coming in.
So just for 1 minute, Carl, can you just explain? Because there's going to be a lot of people. Obviously, we understand,
Yeah,
but there's going to be a lot of
yeah.
people. What does it mean we're in the quantum field in the basic term? Because I know we could go right
Yeah.
down a.
We're in basically, like I talk about the three stages, the reactivity in the world that's playing out to response is coming from the head back to the heart. And then the quantum is that, like what we spoke about last week, was the great awakening and awareness is the quantum is now the heart connecting to the universal field that we trust. When we connect to that, it guides us. There's an internal guidance system through truth, through that field. So it's a universal, the frequency, the electromagnetic universe that we're living in, that we've been so disconnected from. And a lot of it is to do with technology, and the technology's taken over the mind.
And the interesting thing about tech as well, I know we're not doing tech today. However, the interesting thing about tech, the more I watch the tech they're trying to develop at the moment, or I say trying to, they are actually developing. It's all like virtual reality. It's all giving you a quicker response from this to connect to something. But we
Yeah,
can already do that. Our
yeah,
brain already has the
absolutely. From here,
yeah, we already have
absolutely,
the capacity. We haven't quite got the understanding because we've never been taught how to access the human system effectively. Because
absolutely.
like you say,
Yeah,
education is what we're taught at school.
and
We're
and
not
and
taught
yeah,
heart education. Heart education.
absolutely.
Heart education.
Artful, absolutely. Heart mind intelligence. So you're
Yeah,
looking at heart mind intelligence, it's far superior than artificial
yeah,
intelligence. So you think of the controlling system that's taken over. Our minds have been taken over by this quick fix, this sensory pleasure vacuum. We've been sucked out. So
yeah.
we're now in a program that the matrix is controlling the algorithms and everything. Now, that system by design has allowed us to get to where we are today. But fortunately, we've got something superior, the
Coming in.
universal quantum system, that
Yeah,
the universe will not be controlled. It's got a mind of its own, and we're all plugged into it. But because of life, because of disruptions in our flow, because of education, because of the intensity and the seriousness of life, we're disconnected from it, and we
yeah.
can reconnect. And that's what we spoke about last week. The reconnection is really moving back from here and trusting and living from here, as uncomfortable as it is. And if you've not done the healing and the onion peeling of the deeper layers, you're going to feel what you're feeling at the moment. And if you can just feel the love will guide you. If you feed the fear, it'll keep you disrupted and blocked in that world that
And
potentially we've
the
come to
fear
know.
also. Yeah, and the fear also leads, when you're in those lower vibrational states of energy as well. I mean, fear is one of the lowest, and it just breeds disease in your body.
Yeah, yeah,
So
it
that's a good
disrupts.
reason, regardless of what's like, if you want to
Yeah,
watch the TV and stuff like that, there's a good reason to actually start working on your heart's intuitive center,
absolutely.
reconnecting, just to get your vibration up. So if you're watching that stuff, you're not watching it in a state of fear. You're watching it
Yeah.
from a balanced state where your body isn't in disease, which is handy. So, Carl, I think we should get into the meaty stuff.
Meat and potatoes. Yeah.
The potatoes. So, shall we start with some astral traveling, cosmic connection? What's your type of
Yeah. Well,
experience
it all relates, Wendy. It all relates. And what I want you to do is to share, like you were sharing earlier about, and I know as well that I'm guarded, always have been. I know when my granddad's here because he touches my nose. I've been through the mediumship, the astrology. A lot of my friends have been so far out the box, shamans. I have synchronistically met so many beautiful light beings and soul workers, light workers on my travel. That's what I've always, when I surrendered, that synchronicity of meeting those type of people. So we know when we have this conversation, we tune straight in. So I think we can share is what your experiences are of astral travel and
yeah, the first one. I mean, a lot of people watching this, you've probably never thought about this. So Carl and I, we come from the same opinion that if we think we're the only inhabited planet in this whole multiverse, then I think that's, a bit short-sighted, to be honest, because realistically, when you look at it like that, we can't be. Anyway, astral traveling. I've always had an interest in the weird and the wacky and the wonderful. I really have. And I thought I'd start doing some astral traveling, and I didn't really know where to start. And I have a friend who's a Buddhist master. I don't really know a lot about Buddhism, so I apologize to any Buddhists out there, but he's a Buddhist master, and they do lots of different types of meditation and stuff like that. And he gave me, I love meditating. I like experimenting with anything like that. Absolutely. So he gave me 100-day meditation to do, right? This is how this all started. And he said to me, it's going to reconnect you with yourself. It's going to reconnect you with the universe, and you're going to have a lovely old time. So I was like, yeah, that sounds great. So he gave me, I had a mantra that I had to say, and I had to follow some certain instructions, which took me into a meditative state while I was saying this mantra. And then when I'd finished this particular bit, he said, you then go, you imagine that you're going off into the universe and you go astral traveling. And I thought, sounds like fun. So anyway, so I'm just following what I've got. I got about 80 days into this 100-day meditation. Wow. And I've been following it, and I've just been having fun. I've been doing the relaxation, and then I was literally just pinging off the planet and sort of like surfing around the universe. So it was really interesting, and I'd find myself at different planets. And there was one planet in particular that I kept visiting, and it was a water planet. And I was just imagining, again, we don't know, Carl, do we? But in my mind's eye, while I was there, I was visiting some little blue fellas, webbed hands, webbed feet. Quite nice, just really cheeky. I call them cheeky. Anyway, I was getting really tired, and this meditation was meant to be giving me energy. And a friend of mine who was a trainer of mine, I remember, I think this is about day 85. We've booked a Zoom call, and I remember this is before Zoom, so Skype. I remember opening my laptop and looking at him, and he looked at me and he went, "Bloody hell, are you astral traveling at the moment?" Like that, right? And I was sort of like taken back by this. I said, "What? Why?" He said, "You looked absolutely exhausted." He said, "Are you protecting yourself while you're astral traveling?" I was like, how do you know I am? He said, "I just feel it." He said, "I know you're doing something." He's very awake and aware and enlightened.
Absolutely, tuning in.
And I said, well, funny enough, I am. I said, "I've been doing this Buddhist meditation." He said, are you protecting your body when you leave?" I said, "Well, I didn't think I had to, because I was doing the Buddhist meditation." He said, no, you have to still, like, encase yourself in light and all this sort of stuff. I didn't know, because I was a newbie. I was a new traveller. And then he said to me, "Wendy, who's the blue dude that's standing on your left?" And I chuckled, because I was like, "Can you see him? People are going to think." So anyway, he could actually see him. Obviously, guys, he's not physically here, but like in your head, you sort of see them. We'll be locked up in an asylum after this, Carl.
No, but this is your imagination, Wendy, and this is beautiful, because in a sense, an imagination gets taken over, and this is connected.
So anyway, so this is all happening, and my friend who's talking to me is going, "Right, you really need to be protecting yourself, and ask him if he's from Source." And I said, "Are you from Source?" And he said, "No," and he laughed, and he said, "Right, you've got to put a restraining order on him. He's got to stay away from you then, because he's not helpful." As soon as we did some other stuff, my energy came back, because it was a bit of an energy drain. So then I continued the Buddhist meditation, doing the astral traveling for another 20 days. And then obviously you just stop doing it. And then I just continued. I love going to sleep, closing my eyes and just disappearing off somewhere. It's fascinating the places you can go. It really is. I mean, and whether you're going there or not, the fact that you have this imagination in your head that can take you to those spaces, I've just found it a really, really interesting experience. But the one trippy bit about it, Carl, was this, and this is why this always intrigues me, and I get a bit more intrigued. I bought a grounding sheet for my bed. Because I was feeling a bit spacey, and someone said, "Oh, you need to be grounding yourself more. Get a grounding sheet," right? So I get this grounding sheet, put it on the bed, and think, "Lovely, I'm going to be lovely. Wake up grounded in the morning." I laid on it. About 3 o'clock in the morning, I had the weirdest experience. I woke up, but I felt like there was two of me. And honestly, it was that trippy. It freaked me right out. I felt
Wow.
like as I woke up, I thought, what is that? And my half of my body was trying to tug itself out of me.
Yeah.
And I literally laid there and thought, oh my God, you can get on with that. I'm going back to sleep. Because I
Yeah.
saw
Yeah. Yeah.
at that I had a sense it was my energy trying to go. So
Yeah.
I went back to sleep. It did that three times, Cole. Woke
Wow.
me up because obviously my energy can't travel
Mm.
because I've got the grounding sheet pulling everything back in. And it
Yeah.
was that was the weirdest experience out of all of it. Not the astral traveling was lovely, but the
Yeah.
grounding sheet and my energy not being able to go out of my body. So yeah,
Yeah.
that made me think, right, there's something going on
Well,
here.
with the grounding, Wendy, with the grounding is basically you need to do the grounding, but what happens is with body voltage and being able to kind of really, you talk about astral traveling, and that's what a lot of us did in the 80s when we was all taking mind-bending stuff. You was leaving the body, you'd lay down and you'd leave and to go to beautiful spaces, but the grounding is really important for you can go through a process of detoxing, which means you've got body voltage, which means you can really start to clean your energy on a deeper level because of how ungrounded we are. So with grounding sheets, I have a Metatron mat, which I got from Glastonbury.
Right.
Cost me a lot of money and sleep on it, and it basically puts you in a meditative state. So when you think of it's like the concept of the walk, this walk concept. People woke up and then they went back to sleep. When you're awake, you never go to sleep. You're home. You're here. When you go to bed, you're here. But
Yeah.
there's got to be a grounding element and an integration. It was a bit like when I was going through my breakdown and experimenting through the sensory vacuum, the stimulation and pleasure and clubbing and dancing. I had to ground. It's a bit like us going on the mothership. We've got to come down and do it and ground, but it takes time for the body to really adjust to that if you've got electromagnetic frequencies
Well,
around you.
I think this is what I've been doing for years, Cole. So what I realised was that part of the grounding sheet as well. It wasn't just for the astral
Yeah,
travelling, but for years
yeah,
after all the trauma and stuff, what I
yeah,
seem to have done, and this is the
yeah,
only way I can sort of explain it. I took my energy out my body,
yeah,
and my energy was literally following my body about. So I
yeah,
wasn't actually having a human experience. It was like
yeah,
I was watching everything happen, but I
yeah,
wasn't connecting into that space. So I always
yeah.
felt a
You
bit
want,
spacey
yeah,
and I thought I need a grounding sheet so I can get back in my human form because I'm a space cat.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm floating around in the astral plane, watching my body do its thing, but not engaging in the human experience. And I thought I really need to
Yeah.
get back in that thing and have the experience. So that was part of the grounding sheet as well.
Well,
But that's my
grounding.
experience.
Yeah, and that's beautiful. It's like with my system, grounding's number one because of technology, the low frequencies we've got around us and access to, which can elevate us into the quantum system through healing, through our conversations, through just switching on and tuning into so much, spiritual wisdom out there that it allows us. It's managing the low frequencies around us, and that is my big thing is with the technology. A lot of us don't realize how stuck we are in our heads. Now when we've done some work, when we've done the work, or when we're integrating, being able to ground, it for me is being able to integrate. So being grounded, being switched on and tuned in, having that flow is energy above, energy below. Activating the flow is really kind of really sitting in that space. And what I was saying, yeah, so the walk and this walk generation, and I go, walk, you woke up and then you went back to sleep. It's about being awake and realizing when you go to sleep that you can go anywhere in the universe with your imagination. And with me, Wendy, knowing me for 5 minutes, I'm so far out. That's why I love this topic because for me, at the age of 18, this is what I connected to. And I lost
Yeah.
my mind over it. And it was the best thing that ever happened. But I had to really make more sense of it over the years. Something gripped me, something drove me, something got hold of me, and it was a greater the flow of everything I connected to through the man bending, the mushrooms, I connected to something. I was going through a clairvoyant experience. I was kind of seeing future events. I was on my own, losing my mind, but a lot of people don't realize that our gift, like you say, 5% of our brain we use. What power we have within us is
Oh,
unbelievable.
well, just immense. We
Unbelievable.
went through the power of the cells, didn't we? You know, your cells, every cell in your body generates about 7
Yeah,
kilohertz of energy. You know, you're a walking nuclear power station, basically.
absolutely.
You're
Absolutely.
only using 5% of it. I mean,
Yeah.
and then if we move into I really would like to discuss a little bit because the whole point of this was a bit of UFOs, wasn't it? Because
Yeah.
UFOs, I mean, I've only ever had so I only had one experience.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of dancing lights, I call them. So obviously, same as you, I spent a lot of time after raves laying in fields staring at the sky, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
as a kid, it was one of my favourite things. As a kid,
Yeah.
it was one of my favourite things to do. Was literally just sit in the garden at night and watch the sky. I just used to be fascinated, and I used to see a lot of dancing lights,
Yeah.
and that's what I called them to start with. I've only ever had one experience though, and I was actually with someone. I was with a former partner of mine, Mark, and we were stood at the bottom of our garden in Hatfield Peveril, and we had a UFO literally fly over as near as damn it stop above us, and we're both sort of looking at each other, going, "Can you
What?
see this? What is
Yeah.
it? You could have hit it with a brick." Do you know what I mean? It's like, is anybody else seeing this? Can anybody else hear this thing? And then it just took off down the road and disappeared. And it was huge as well. It was, I mean, this thing was absolutely immense. And it was like, well, it wasn't a helicopter, it
Yeah.
wasn't an aeroplane, and it wasn't anything that I've ever seen before or have knowledge of seeing. What on earth was it? And it was the speed that it went off at. There's nothing that I know that moves like that. And I wasn't the only person to see it, which I'm quite glad of. So I do think I'm not mentally ill. Um,
Well,
but that's the only experience I've had of it. But as we were saying at the start, if we think we're the only inhabited planet in this whole multiverse, then surely we're very short-sighted beings, aren't we?
but that's what the five sensory system does. That's what it does. It puts you in the amygdala. It's the old software. It's the fear software. So you don't activate the sixth sense. You're not activating your extrasensory perception, and that's what you need to wake up. Going from the biology of the amygdala to the response of the heart to switching on and tuning in.
So,
And
because actually on that tip, Carl, from a brain programming side of it,
yeah,
because I work with neurology and
yeah,
programming of the brain and deletion, distortion, and generalization. If you think about it like that, from what you just said, that makes absolute sense that we wouldn't be seeing these things in our environment because our brain
yeah,
has a filter system that
yeah.
it works on to filter sensory information as it comes in. And if we've not ever unlocked our extrasensory perceptions, so we can view in whatever way, shape, or form you want to think of it, what else is out there. There could be stuff like literally walking about next to you that you don't see because your brain is just filtering it straight out of your environment. That's an interesting thought.
And what has happened as well, Wendy, in a big way, with the technology and with ET phone home, with the actual technology and the conspiracy and all of the theories behind things, is people don't really know what resonates with them. They don't know their own truth in it. So it's easy to look at someone and go, conspiracy. But
Yeah,
when you actually have that extrasensory perception, you don't see something as a conspiracy. You get the collect the data. Something touches you, it
yeah,
moves you, and it inspires you. And once you're on that path of having that extrasensory perception and switching on to tune in to more from that universal cosmic perspective, you start to realize that you can go see James Gilliland at the Assetti Ranch in Washington, D.C., who has a vortex, Mount Adams, where they have UFOs where celebrities go to. But I followed James Gilliland since around 2007. And
right.
he's an amazing man. And you can listen. I listen to James Gilliland and what he's talking about from a planetary perspective, somebody who will share his insights and his experiences about going on ships and like that. And this is the thing. Once you hear that, if you don't have a resonance with that, that concept of
And it's
being able to
picture of
go
some of
out.
those factors. Yeah, if you don't have, and this is the thing, isn't it? About I suppose for a lot of people, it's actually coming out of that, the cognitive dissonance because we're
Exactly. The left brain,
taught,
that's the amygdala, that's the
we're
ego,
taught
that's
so
the
much stuff.
construct. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's when it goes against it. I mean, I was watching another documentary the other day that someone sent me just to have a look at a different concept of our universe.
Yeah.
And the cognitive dissonance I had, it's really funny because I watch stuff, but I was fully aware of it. My head's
Yeah.
going, not true, not in textbooks, not taught at
Yeah.
school. Not true. And it
Uncomfortable.
was funny
Uncomfortable.
listening. Yeah, it was funny listening to the.
Computer says no. Computer
Yeah,
says no. And you
yeah.
can't override it. And you've
And it
got
was
to be able to override.
yeah, it was making me chuckle while I was watching it because it was like, wow, but
Yeah.
the program I was watching actually made a lot of sense. So
Yeah.
it started shifting my paradigm around
Yeah.
what I was educated with at school.
Yeah.
Started shifting my paradigm even more around that subject. I mean, my goal, I want to open up my human energy to the field as much as I possibly can and connect into the grid as much as possible. I
Yeah.
want to know more than the 5% of what this is capable of without you
Absolutely. But I
involvement.
think you've already gone down that road, Wendy, because you've had shock in your life like me. And if you've experienced shock, if you've experienced certain trauma or disconnect, you just realize that the head is disconnected from the heart. The
Yeah,
head is being manipulated and controlled. I don't say that everything that you hear is a lie or truth, but you've got to find your own truth on this journey. And from
yeah,
a sensory perspective, a large percentage of people don't realize because of the program that's been running. And in reality, you look at Hollywood, you look at a lot of these movies that are designed for us to see things in a certain way. If you can't discern that, if you don't have a foundation to who you are, and if you've not gone through the troubles and the adversity, and you've not been able to wake up to something greater because you've had to move through something,
yeah,
you're going to be stuck in that process. And it's so understandable. And what you know every day I have conversations with people, and the more I'm in Canada, the more people I have conversations like we're having, that there's an openness, there's a vastness,
yeah,
there's a connectedness. And then you have certain conversations that might be challenging. And you got to be, for me, you got to be compassionate and not forgiving, but you, like I said, a PhD in BS management. You know your truth. I know my truth. I'm not forcing you to think in any way. I'm
yeah.
sharing perspective. We're sharing perception. There's new ways to see. And that, for me, is what's coming in. The language needs to change. We've got an old broken system. But getting back to UFOs, if you think about, the amount of movies that conflict, conspiracy. E.T. was one of the first movies that really softened the inner child to think of E.T. as a little alien that goes, E.T. phone home. And it's a storyline. And what it does is it really shuts down the inner child to grow beyond the perception of benevolent beings. It's not all good. It's like we
No,
talk about the spiritual world, benevolent and the dark and the light and what's really going on out there that a lot of us are not tuning into, but it's happening.
and it's that thing of them. I always laugh about the movies because it's like they're giving you a map of reality anyway.
Yeah,
Where do they, our imagination, it has to come from somewhere. And we're both from the same. We know everything comes in
yeah,
from the field and everything always has been and always will be, is already now. So,
yeah,
stuff like Independence Day, I mean, one of my favorite alien movies is Mars Attacks, just because it's the funniest thing, because they come down and everyone's like, oh, happy little aliens, and then they're chasing you around going, do not run while they're shooting you. We
yeah,
come in peace, sort of thing. But it is just, you see there's so much of it. It's like we're being drip fed something so we get used to it, so
yeah,
then they can unpack it on us like everything else. Without going into what's happening now, you get drip fed stuff, so you become so
yeah,
used to it that then
yeah,
it's just normality. If you think of all the adverts for like video stores that have
yeah,
aliens come down to buy
yeah,
videos, all
absolutely.
that stuff, it's
Yeah,
already preparing you for I've always said I'm hoping by the end of October we make contact, because I've put a bet on with someone that we're going to have an alien invasion of some sort by the end of
Yeah, but
October.
for
So
me,
hurry up.
for me, Wendy, is that we've always been connected. It's always been out there, and if you look at, and I say I'm not from this planet, and that having a human experience, at this moment in time, the best thing is you could is not be from this planet. I even talk about going into cosmic real estate. There's trillions of planets. We can have one each. You can take your family there. We can plan it up. Remember the movies that came out back in the day with Sylvester Stallone driving through space on bikes? It's like we've spent
Yeah.
100 years putting fuel in a vehicle, pumping up tires, when all of this technology that's been here, that's been suppressed, could have elevated us like the movie show, but they made it a fantasy. They made it a dream and disconnected us at the same time, because that's what the technology's done. And now we don't know truth from this news and that news, unless you're switched on and you tuned in, because we've all got radars. You've got a
And
radar.
that's the whole point again, isn't it? Everything that Carl and I talk to you guys about, it is all coming back to whatever the subject matter and our own experience. It comes back to this: how connected and tuned in are you? Because we do have our own guidance system. You have inner guidance here,
Human
here.
technology.
This is just your mapper. But the heart and the stomach, your intuition, your gut feeling, you know, you have already everything within you that you need to know the truth of anything around you when you just tune in. Carl, one thing I want to ask you though is, what are your experiences? Because you've already pulled some of mine out that are now going to
Well,
get me
my experiences have really been, back in the 80s, when we'd go out clubbing and we'd go out dancing, and you got your party prescription and you went out and you had that release from planet Earth, because it was this matrix of, you couldn't wait for the weekend. And when you went for the weekend, you didn't often sleep at any time during the weekend. And I
no.
played sport as well. But you went out and you would have these experiences where you'd lay down and you'd go into a psychedelic dance in the cosmos, and you would just be so free from the physical body that you was just amazed by, the connection that you had. What you was feeling was expanding, opening doors of perception.
Yeah.
So for me, when you open those doors of perception, that it opens up dimensions. And when we talk about 3D, the solid physical 3D, that's where a lot of us don't realize human biology is kind of 3D, but then when you move to 4D and 5D, our human technology gets activated. And then we can have so much more of an experience when we take this human experience lightly. And lightly means light beings that we are. We don't need to, because it's a serious construct that has been well designed.
Yeah, energy comes before matter. I think that's what we're not taught these things either. I don't know science. I didn't really do a lot of science. Chuck it over my shoulder. But what I do know is that everything in this universe is energy, and it all has a vibration.
Frequency and vibration.
Energy comes before matter. So if you can get back to energy, then you can create anything. You can go anywhere. You can be anything. You can do anything.
Absolutely.
Because we're only accessing 5% at the minute, if we can unlock that 95% connectivity, what does that leave us open to?
Absolutely. So for me, Wendy, when I was going on my experience since 97, when I found my calling working with youth, going into the healing, the troubled teen, and just seeing the world through their perspective, and realizing that children, when I was speaking to them, were in the hearts. When as far down the matrix and the road of going into the world of work, get a house, get a car, all of that. And that they've got radars. They know when you're Jeffrey the giraffe. People say to me, Cal, the kids, I said, because there's feeling what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And the reality of that frequency and that vibration, when you wake up to the power that we have and you start getting those ha-ha moments, it takes you on a journey. And the journey of truth and untangling the world of what you know, 3D is, and the man program and all of that element. And not saying that everything's bad, because David Attenborough, what an amazing man. But as I went through the weave, the more I surrendered, like Dr. Wayne Dyer says, the more I surrendered, because of my upbringing, there was a sense of freedom. When I woke up, there was a sense of freedom, and I went on my own journey. Once I started to access healing energy tools and Tesla and pendants and realizing I was electrosensitive,
Yeah.
as I went down that road, the more lighter I became, the more I cleared my hard drive, upgraded the software, the more the attractor patterns and the vibration would raise. I stopped drinking over 16 years ago because I knew what alcohol does. So raising my vibration and dancing, I'll tell you one experience that I had, which was a big shift for me, meeting Ben Brown, a guy who was a shaman, and I met him through a medium and an astrologist. So I was just having these sessions, energy modalities, healing modalities, and Ben looked at me when we first met, and we both knew we was meant to meet and connect. And he took me on a very deep journey of going to the nature space, cleansing my aura in the fountain, and then he would take me out. He would take me out and he would say, Carl, this is like having a shot of vodka. This is like hallucinating. I'm going to take you on this journey. And I would teach him the box wires, and we'd do some spinning on the bike, and then we would sit down and do some healing work. And he would say, Carl, you've got some attachments. Where you been? What's going on? And he would kind of cleanse my aura. He would do the cleaning, and then he'd take me on a little journey where we'd do some distant healing. And distant healing is something you do when the ether gets quiet, so the energy can go via the airwaves. Yeah. So we knew how to bridge the energy. Where did we want to send it to? And what I found with Ben is Ben took me so deep into this process that I did this exercise every day where I go to my nature space, to go on my boat, I'd go onto the land, I'd sit under my tree, then I'd go to my fountain, so I'd ground, and then I'd go, boom, I'd go out. And the more work I was doing with Ben on a very deep, profound level is that I started to see more. So I would sit with him after we had the energetic with the box wires. And I remember one time seeing an orb, and it went around him, this orb. And as it went around him, I could feel it. And he said, you're blessed. And all of a sudden, it was like I was getting a massage. This sounds crazy, but to him, that was normal. He could see the colors of the aura. And he said, you're blessed. So he would know to bring spirit guards in. He would be able to see energy. And I'd take Ben on a weekend where we'd have spirit. We'd go on this, we'd go to this, it was 5,000 years old, this rock circle near Whitby on the coast near Scarborough. And it was in the back of a farmer's field. And the farmer was called Chris. And we knocked on Chris's door one day to ask him if we could, because we was taking if we could take the route through his farm instead of taking this long through the bog and the forest and the climb, which we did, which was the exploration of going to somewhere that was unique. And this rock circle was 5,000 years old. We did research on it. I'd go sit in that with Ben, and he would play the flute. And he would say, Carl, look at the center. And there would be like flies. And he'd say, the ancestors are in. And that the point where we was where the ancestors would come and do harvest. There was a vortex there. And we'd sit, and I'd close my eyes, and it was like there was just psychedelic blues and reds. And you'd open your eyes and you'd go, the sky's grey. Close your eyes. And the connection, it was a vortex, and it was 5,000 years old. So I would go on these journeys with Ben, and then we'd do some drumming, and he'd take me on a spiritual journey. So I kind of went really deep and profound with Ben, and I call him up today. I call him up. I know where he is, and he's still on my phone, and he lives off grid. And we have these conversations, and he'll kind of tell me what he's feeling and sensing, and we'll have these conversations. And I think as you go through the synchronicity, the more lighter you get, the more your attractor patterns bring people in. And then people just know we went to meet. I mean, it's like me and you, Wendy. We was meant to meet. It's not rocket science. It unfolds itself. So, but you've got to be in a light. You've got to have that light body to sense it, to
Mm.
know it, trust
I
it,
wanna
and allow it.
I wanna just come back to, because we're getting towards the end of our session, because we'd like to do
Yeah,
an hour. But, the thing of this is quite important for people to sort of know as well, because we are energy beings and we do have an aura. I mean, I don't see auras, I see energy fields. So around you at the moment, I see about 1.5 inches, and it's like a little heat wave. And I
yeah,
see this around every living thing, not
yeah,
just people, but trees and anything. I don't see auras, I don't see colours, but I see the energy field. And
yeah,
anyone can learn how to do that. But knowing we are an energy field and everybody is an energy field, you can pick stuff up off of people.
yeah,
So my friend the other day who was doing some clearing for me, she said she had to go and do some work in her car because every time she got in a car, she felt angry. And it
yeah,
wasn't because, the car makes her angry. It was because her take on it was, it's like driving through a fog of fear and anger whenever you're out driving in your car, because there's
yeah,
so many people
yeah.
running.
She had an attachment, and you had to
So
detach
you
it and then anchor
Yeah.
later.
So what I was going to, like, a little bit of advice I was going to give to people, if you're feeling constantly drained, and this is a handy thing to know, have a good salt bath with
Yeah,
intention to clear anything. I
yeah.
use Epsom salts every night of the
Well,
week.
frankincense is good as well.
Yeah,
Frankincense on a
frankincense.
vibrational energetic.
Yeah,
Frankincense is good. A couple of
I have
drops.
that oil as well. I use that in loads of different. I actually drink frankincense as well. But
I do.
when I'm feeling funky, I go,
Yeah,
right, clear the energy field. So, and there's lots of things you can do, from music to saging to crystals to running,
absolutely.
to bathing to just physical intention, pure intention, heart
Yeah,
meditation. There's so many ways, guys, that you can clear yourselves. But I always say, if you've been feeling really tired and drained for a period of time, it's probably because you've been interacting through supermarkets, through your workspace. If you
yeah,
sit next to a mood hoover, so if you sit next to someone who's really grumpy all the time, totally
yeah,
pessimistic, and sucks the life out of everybody
yeah.
when they come in the environment, your energy field is interacting in that space. So it's always good
Absolutely.
to remember that bit of self-care when you get home. What can you do for yourself to get this thing all clean and clear again and ready to
And
go?
that's what's important, Wendy, is that when you look at the aura, you look at mental, emotional. If we don't deal with the mental and emotional, and we're not thinking on a certain level, it goes into the physical. If we're not
Yeah,
processing, we're electromagnetic processes. So we do that from the heart, not from the head, not for the
yeah,
reactive man loop. So, for people, and you go out, it's being unaware, you're not protecting yourself, but this is where movement is like recycling. It reboots your electromagnetic energy system. It cleanses, it
yeah.
activates your senses. That's why movement's important. But yeah, frankincense, that's what's amazing, is that we have access to this at a touch of a finger. And I write about that in the book, is the inspiratology that we have now, the wisdom that we have now is amazing.
But you can find all of this stuff, like you say, the internet, something we moan about it, going, oh, technology, blah,
Yeah,
But the thing is, that the great thing about it is, if you want to know anything, you can access it now. So you
yeah.
can access all of these different mythologies and modalities. They're all just at the touch of a finger for you to find out something that can help heal your body in some way.
And I call it the cosmic information superhighway. The click we're in. And this is how we can communicate as well. So when you look at, I said about language that's been created, and the spelling, as you spoke
Yeah.
about, I love the belief
Big
with
fat
the
lie.
lie, yeah, and the deeper knowing, the
Yeah.
belief for the man, but the deeper knowing, the intuition, that, you know, what's amazing for me at this point in time is that we're going through such a deep process. And if people are willing to just really breathe it in and feel it and just be in the process of allowing,
Yeah.
and I write about this, is that we're trying to push everything, but being the process of allowing and recycling, allowing things to come in. And if you choose to go in an environment where somebody stops you and hounds you, and I've experienced this, is I know it's a test, or I know it's just a process, and somebody might
Yeah.
need a little seed of wisdom, or you go, I just need to detach. I
Yeah.
need to move out of that, because that energy and those dynamics are out there. And that's what kind of we're in at the moment is that there's a very, you know, dark, or let's just say deep energy that's moving and shifting. And, if you're a light worker, if you're somebody who's of a light mind at this moment in time, you know that and you feel it. And a lot of people don't feel it. So it is about is protecting yourself. It's having that self-awareness. And I
Yeah.
think I think with what we've spoke about today, we've spoke more about our electromagnetic system, the cosmic superhighway, and when it comes down to kind of ufology out there and exploring the UFOs and knowing where to look. I sent you the video about Danny Dyer.
Yeah, yeah, I watched that. The funny thing, I
That's,
posted. I have a group.
that's a perfect example. Danny Dyer traveled all over the world
Yeah,
looking at crop circles, and then he goes to
yeah,
James Gilliland. They goes into they do a spiritual circle of getting the
yeah,
energy dynamics and raising the vibrations, so the ships and the orbs that come
yeah.
over. And Danny Dyer he was on UFO overdose, wasn't he? I mean, that
Oh,
video.
it was funny. I shared it. I've got a group. I'll add you in the WhatsApp group, actually, Carl.
Yeah. And
We've got a WhatsApp group where we share bits and pieces and fact check
so,
stuff and that.
what I want to say, Wendy,
But,
is that
sorry, just quickly with the Danny Dyer stuff. I
yeah,
shared it in the WhatsApp group,
yeah,
and everybody was like, they laughed first and went, "It's Danny Dyer," but then they watched it and went, "Wow,
yeah.
yeah, that's
And
really interesting."
I followed that for a lot of years. I followed that for a lot of years. So you feel the resonance and the truth in that because it's consistent. It's not just popping up and going like
No,
certain conspiracy world. But getting back to the UFOs and the alien, because you know me, and I say to people, I've got an extra testicle. I'm extraterrestrial. That the human technology now, Wendy,
yeah,
is aligning with the alien technology. And I mean, from an alien technology, is that the powers that are out there in the cosmic realms have always been there. And what we're doing is we're upgrading. It's the head back to the heart, from the
yeah.
heart into the universe. Yeah. Is that we're going through a process now with this technology coming through. It's been here, it's just been suppressed.
Yeah, which we
And you
know if
can't,
you look at all the patents, we can trace this back, for a
yeah,
long period of time. We know that if you do your research, guys, you'll see all these patents that have been put on things and held and shoved under the carpet because they want to make money out of the resources, and all this is free energy
absolutely.
coming out. There's loads of stuff coming and surfacing, Carl, isn't there? That's going to be
Yeah.
absolutely amazing.
So you look at UFO, unidentified flying objects. Of course, they're unidentified because we can't see them. If we're stuck in a five sensory perception, we're going to go, "Ugh." We're never going to see it anyway. But if it's caught, like James Gilliland does, if it's caught on night vision and you see them powering up, you start to go, hang on a minute, that's not normal.
What's
That is
that?
not normal. When
Yeah,
you follow it and you follow it and you see what people are experiencing, the energy around these experiences, why thousands of people go to camp out in his ranch
yeah,
in Mount
yeah.
Adams. Dan Aykroyd,
I was
he's
gonna say,
awake and
the
he's
thing is,
been there. Do you
they're
know
not
well?
all they're not all nutters, are they? That's the thing.
No. Do
You
you
know,
know who else went there as well? The singer who was we take that. What's his name? Robbie Williams. Robbie
all right.
Williams has been there. Robbie
Yeah,
Williams has been there. He knows about it. You know what I mean? He's awake and he was exploring with all the, which the 80s was, with all the drugs, or let's just say the power essence, the spirit plants, which are more
yeah.
common now, but just expanding beyond the physical body. So
Well,
from
that
a,
was my Sam's just sorry, we've had a comment come on here. Sam said she can't wait for the med beds. I mean, we
yeah,
know that technology's here. I can't wait for the med beds either, Sam. I'm really looking forward to one of those.
but that's it. This is the great challenge is that if we're stuck in our heads with this artificial intelligence, when there's a universal quantum system out there called a
Yeah,
universe, it's electromagnetic.
yeah,
All of the free technology that's out there, that's amazing, that's been suppressed, is coming through. And you can call it alien technology, you can call it advanced technology, it's quantum, it's universal. We're so powerful, but we're so disconnected from it, and it's coming through. We're
yeah,
upgrading to that frequency because it can't hold on any longer. Nobody can control this planet. artificial says what it does. It's artificial, it's man-made, just like the technology and the low frequencies that we experience through devices and appliances that, you know, Edison, electricity back in the early 90s, 1900s.
Yeah.
Tesla, electromagnetic energy, free. Yeah. Edison, we got to make money. Who did they
Yeah.
choose to take over the job? Electricity.
Yeah. To make money. Yeah.
Exactly. So what we're in is the electro. So everybody's talking, you know, about Tesla. Tesla, I write about Tesla and the energies on my website when I talk about grounding. The most important thing we do, we gotta get the mothership ready. It's got to be on the ground before we go out, and then we've got to come back in to integrate the human experience. But we're going to spend more time out there because, like I said,
and that's the purpose of Carl and I sharing, you know, these videos every week, is to help you guys connect into yourselves, you know, whether it's from the weird and the wacky that we talk about in your
we'll call you wacky, Wendy. I was thinking of calling you
Wendy.
wacky, but wonderful's better because you have a wonderful openness for exploration. But wacky, you can have wacky moments.
Wacky, wonderful Wendy. We can have wacky Wednesdays, Carl. We can do
wacky Wednesdays. But I think what it is, and what's good to get over, Wendy, because we, you know, our videos have been going out. If you can touch, move, and inspire one person, that's all that matters. And if we can share our passion, we're putting it out there. And the thing with me and you is we're light, like we said, because we've gone through experiences. We don't take this human experience serious. And like I say, I'm so far outside the box. It's a beautiful thing. And I say Elvis has left the building, or just the reaction to response, to switching on and tuning in, is that this is just a vessel with so much more to us, you know. And that's the beautiful thing. And we're keeping it light, keeping it bright, and sharing just a beautiful expression of life from an imagination. Because you think of being born, you're born with an innocence. The innocence is the taking over, and that innocence goes by imagination, and then the vision.
Stop there 1 sec. That word is very, 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 very important. You are born innocent. Innocent. You are born with innocence.
Yeah.
And then knock it out of you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we just want you guys to connect back to your innocent innocence.
Innocence. The sensory perception, not 5 sense. The innocence and the 6 senses. We've got 3 eyes, 2 to look with. 1, look at it here.
Here, he's got it on his hat.
Insight. It's called insight. It's called intuition. Switching on and tuning in.
Reasons why we have all these words.
Yeah.
Reasons why we have all these words, Carl, isn't there? They all have that deeper meaning which we just seem to have lost.
Yeah, absolutely.
So guys, well, we hope that you've enjoyed our little wander into the wacky world of Carl and I today. And I'll just give you a little bit of insight to get connected back to your inner sense and start leveling yourselves out. Because if you're experiencing, we're back to the beginning again, Carl, the fear and the anxiety and stuff. You know, you reconnect into here, get back into the self, into the heart, and you will find it will all dissipate.
Trust the process. Surrender to something greater. Trust this human experience. The human experience is the human biology, human technology. The 3 stages, as I say, to activating the flow. The flow is the God, the goodness, the spirit, the light, the source, as Wendy said. We're all connected. It runs through us, and we all are connected to it. We've just become so disconnected by design.
It is disconnected by design. If you want to reconnect by design as well, the wonderful book behind me, 50 Ways to Change. It's all that is, guys. It's a book about your map of reality, how you got to where you are and how you can change it to where you want to go.
Change perspective, shift perception. That's what we're talking about. Yeah, that's great, Wendy.
That's all that is. So just, you know, jump on Amazon, grab someone you love a copy.
There we go. There we go. And like I say with my book, Activating Flow, Releasing the Power Within, is I'm going to get it ready for Christmas. I've got an illustrator, a beautiful soul, Danielle from Toronto, who's putting the 3 stages. We're going to see the biology of how we're in this human biology, and then we're going to see how we can move back to the heart. The heart is going to bring the electromagnetic energy system, and then switching on and tuning in from reaction response to switching on and tuning in and realize what we're really connected to.
And that we can create. Oh, there's a beautiful, actually, I just wanted to share this, something, I'm on their email list as well. Sion, if you go onto Facebook, guys, if any of you are on there, SION, but they're a beautiful, beautiful group of people to follow, and they're doing a global meditation on the 28th of October.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a really nice global meditation. It's something I'm going to take part in.
It's a planetary broadcast of electromagnetic goodness and love and soul power that we need to plug into, and we plug in from here. Absolutely.
Bring the vibration, raise the vibration. Human resonance is always going up. We just want to take it through the
crank, as we say, crank your vibe up.
Crank your vibe up, mate. Crank your vibe up.
Your vibe up, yeah. But
right,
great.
Guys.
Yeah,
guys,
great chat, Wendy.
Yeah, we hope you've enjoyed that, Carl. Always lovely to chat with you. We'll be back next Monday anyway, won't we? So
absolutely.
We'll be back with something else wonderful.
Lots of love to everybody out there. Love, compassion, live from your heart. Feel, sense the love that's out there, and just really, upgrade and start to think about what you're bringing in and the potential of what's coming in.
Yeah.
What is coming in through the electromagnetic universe.
Trust in that. Get in your heart, trust in it, and we're sending you some massive love bombs out now.
Absolutely.
Right, love you all. See you next week. Bye for now.
Okay, lovely.